In this video, we'll take a look at Jason Kokrak, who won this week. Big guy, 6'4", super flexible player. I'm just amazed at how even some of these big guys really have such flexibility through their hips, back, arms, shoulders. It's amazing. And some of that you can see just with the setup position with his feet almost turned inward, where a lot of guys you'll see with the front foot sort of turned out just to allow the hips to clear easier. Certainly, Hogan's book and other books talk about turning that foot out to allow for an easier movement through. I think for him, he feels like it maybe gives him too much flexibility, but interesting player, interesting swing. Like I said, big guy, 6'4", gives it a forward press, and then really takes it wide. A very short, compact golf swing, super wide. Some of that flexibility evident here with that elbow that sort of hyperextends on the way back. And that's a hint when you do a lot of flexibility testing that a player has extra flexibility or extra mobility when you see that elbow bending sort of backwards. Wide, shorter golf swing, and then really loading it on the way down, getting into the ground and shifting forward. Tons of lag, and he really bombs it. He averages 320 or better off the tee. And that's ball speed up in the 190 area. Super, super powerful player. But like I said, strong, big guy, flexible, and lots of load here. This is Byron Nelson to a tee back in the day. He was 6'3", this guy's 6'4". Looks so similar. Wide, not tons of set early. Really loading it on the way down. Just a classical impact position there coming through. Head behind the ball. And a takeaway that you would really want to see for your own swing would be that on a takeaway, if you can keep the shoulders, arms, and club working together in that classical one-piece fashion, you can really see all that working back together. It's very easy to keep the club on a good plane. It's also easy to keep it in sync. And for a player like him, with I'm sure has all that speed as a kid, keeping it in sync was probably trouble because the hips tend to outrun the arms and club on the way through. For the rest of us, that's really not a problem. And from the other angle, we'll see he does drop slightly to stay in that posture. But here we see that left wrist flat, classical position. And somewhat unique here. Like I said, looking like a Byron Nelson with the knees really bent forward or bent down, a Tom Lehman look. Okay, looking at the driver, where Bryson DeChambeau might have it even higher up here like this, it certainly is higher than some players that address in terms of the handle position. A lot of players, you'd see them, the classical sort of through the belt line look here. But being a taller guy, I'm sure it just feels more comfortable. And you can see how big he is. I mean, this is a driver of standard length. It just looks like a tiny club for this guy. But like I said, amazing power, just really high ball speed with a very short, compact move. So taking it back, interesting things to note would be the right hand, right thumb coming off the club as he takes it back. And I think for a lot of players that do that, they sort of learn to keep the left hand in control at this point. If you're a player that gets handsy or sort of whips that club to the inside sometimes, if you end up getting the club in here, sometimes that happens because the right hand is grabbing onto it or pulling the club in there. So for a player like him, he keeps that club out in front with that thumb off there. It's just easier to do that. Not that I would prescribe that, but certainly that does help to keep it in front and keep that left hand in control. At the top, that's just perfectly flat left wrist. Put a line there. So really flat left wrist there. Club face slightly more closed looking than, or slightly more skyward than the wrist position, which is good. That just allows him to have less face rotation on the way through. And now this really awesome move as he comes down. Tons of lag. And he's got that club dead parallel to the plane early. And at this point, if you can produce hands that look that passive with that kind of speed, you can have control of that golf ball. And then when it rolls over, that's fine. But through the hitting zone, impact and after, that's great face control. And if you want to have some fun, go back and look at some Byron Nelson swings. It really is very reminiscent of how he used to play. Last look here with the driver, just to see also how he produces those great numbers with the driver. Like we said before, drops slightly lower, which helps the swing plane, doesn't get too inside out. And we know at this point he's moving slightly back toward the camera. And that gets that club just under the original plane here, which will then send it just enough on the upswing to really nail it and get the right numbers coming off the driver. So launching at the right angle, spinning at the right rate, which helps you get the longest, straightest drive. This is a player who's you can tell by watching his interviews and how he goes about his business. He knows what's going on here. This isn't just luck. He isn't just talented. He is super talented, but it's not just talent. He knows exactly what he's trying to do here from the science side of it to create the shots he's going for. And for anyone who's struggling with a driver, you have to get the ball out there farther, assuming you've made a good backswing and you have some lag and some hinge. Anything that gets in this area that's too steep will just rob you of power. You have to get the club coming this direction, and that will then give you a slight upswing into the golf ball, but also allow the club to go fast and release down the line. Okay, well, that's going to wrap it up for this short video. Jason Kokrak, great win this week. Thanks for watching. If it's your first time here, please subscribe. If you like the video, please hit that like button, and we'll see you in the next one.